Well, hello, and thank you for joining us for our Dear Lady Elect Digging Deep video series. Did I really just mess that up?
Digging deeper, diving deep, that's what we're doing. We're doing that.
As we dig deeper into the Dear Lady Elect Bible study that Judy Seligman put together. Thank you again for joining us, and we hope that you will benefit from what we're about to study. Thank you for joining us on Facebook, and we're also on YouTube. And with that, we're going to get started. Miss Judy?
Well, last time we talked, we talked about, it was about me. But it was how I blamed my sinfulness on my husband. Mm-hmm. And it was a hard pill for me to swallow that I was responsible for me, not for him.
Mm-hmm. He had said, "You're doing this to you."
That's right. That's right. And my misery was something inside of me. You know, I thought that he was causing it, but it was in there. He just brought it to the surface. So he didn't cause it. It was something that God wanted to deal with in me. Mm-hmm. And I know that we do put ourselves through a lot of misery.
We do.
Yeah. Because we're not dealing with the source of our misery. Mm-hmm. When we're in Christ and we're walking with Christ, we have joy, peace, patience, kindness. I mean, this is who we are. Mm-hmm. But when we're not, we're irritable, we're resentful, we worry, we're anxious.
And we're miserable.
Yeah, exactly right. But whose fault is that? Is it the person that causes us to be miserable?
And that's where the world system wants you to cling to. Mm-hmm. They want you to think that person and that person are causing all of this on you.
Yeah, all this misery.
All this misery. Mm-hmm. But
really, we're the source of our own misery.
That's exactly what we talked about last week. And we pick up right there, right now.
Oh, to go to, do you want me to read? We're on the 5th paragraph now.
Do you want to pick up at, how are we going to do this? We're going to pick up in the 5th paragraph? I think we can, the way this is written.
Yeah.
Just for those out there, we are on the August 1988 letter. And we're going to be on the 5th paragraph. And with that, here we go. I always tried to urge my husband to change his ways, and it was never well received by him. During one of these tearful encounters, the story of the woman caught in the act of adultery in John 8 came into my mind, and the words of verse 7 transposed to speak to my heart. Are you so sinless that you can cast stones? Those words shut my mouth. I realized that I had to overcome my sins of self-pity and self-righteousness before I could criticize my husband's life. 2 Corinthians 10:6. I can't tell you in words how that day, over 10 years ago, changed my life and my relationship with my husband. It took a lot of pressure off him because I had to quit nagging him, but more importantly, it changed me. I had to learn to trust Christ to work in my life.
And you know, God could not fix my husband, because if my husband was the perfect man, then these things in me would not have been brought to the surface. Mm-hmm. So fixing him didn't fix anything in me. Which God had to do was change me. And I like that 2 Corinthians 10:6. It says there that when your obedience is fulfilled, I'll avenge all disobedience. And what that said to me was, when I get where I need to be, God's going to take care of the externals.
That's right.
But until I get there, because I'm the one with the power, I'm the one that believes the word, I'm the one that believes in the cross and the finished work. So it's up to me. Mm-hmm. So I have to get right before I can expect my situation to change.
Right.
Yeah. We can go to the woman caught in the act of adultery. I think most of us are familiar, but I'm sure there's people that aren't. Mm-hmm. This poor woman, a sinner, was caught with this man in the very act
Yeah.
In the act, yes.
Yes, they were having sex, and I don't know who walked in on them, but it wasn't pretty.
Wasn't
We don't know what
Never
happened.
is.
We don't know if the guy ran or what, but we don't know what happened to him, but they got her.
They did, and just to call out, I found this interesting. The I don't know, was it a crime or?
Oh, yes, it
okay,
was.
it's a crime
To commit adultery.
for the
Punishable by-
man and the
By
woman.
stoning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Punishable by death for the man and the woman.
That's
In
right.
this story, only the woman was brought out in front of people, but both man and woman were both guilty. Were both committing this crime,
right, so-
and the woman is the part of the story.
yeah.
Just found
We don't know what happened to the guy. Like I said, maybe,
maybe he ran off.
took off running, so he wouldn't get caught and his wife wouldn't find out. But
But
it
he-
became public knowledge.
He could have been right there next to the lady getting this entire speech as well.
That's right. Who knows if he was in the crime?
Yeah.
You know. Well, she gets caught, and the law said that she had to be stoned to death.
Stoned.
Now, what's the punishment for adultery? I mean, that seems severe in our day and age because there wouldn't be that many people around. But and that's one way of keeping the nation intact. So and keeping people.
Oh yeah.
That is part of the reason for laws is to keep us from just everyone being lawless. So anyway, she gets caught, and they want to. It's really a test for Jesus because they said this guy teaches forgiveness and mercy, but he still upholds the law. How's he gonna? You know, we have this poor woman here. What's he gonna do with the law? You know, and they came to him and said she was caught in the very act. Our law said, Moses' law says she has to be stoned. What do you say?
Directly to Jesus.
He bends down and he starts scratching in the dirt.
I loved that part too.
I know. Why don't you give
I
your take on
love
that?
that
I
part.
thought it's like the best take I ever heard.
Really? So I love that people just pass over that. From what I've seen, the first thing he did was start drawing in the dirt in the sea. So what does that do? When everybody's looking at you for an answer, and all you're doing is playing in the dirt, where do your eyeballs go?
To the dirt.
To the dirt. Do you know what that did to the woman?
Took the eyes off of her.
Nobody's looking at her. How bad does that hurt when everybody's staring at you? And the first thing he did was get their eyes down. It relieves pressure off her. So whatever she did, or what she did do it, but whatever she was about to receive, everybody's looking down. And then he goes on to that famous line.
Yes. And that is just such the perfect understanding of that. People try to figure out what he was writing,
Right.
but I love the idea
They do.
that all the eyes went off of her
Off
because
of her.
that's where
The sinner.
we're looking at other people though, and we're saying, and we're going to take our eyes off of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Can you take your eyes off of them
Yes.
and consider, before responding, before casting a stone, can you take your eyes off of them? And then the famous words, are you so sinless that you can cast stones?
Yeah, it said, "He who be without sin among you, be the first to cast a stone." So now they're not looking at her. He diverted their attention. Now they're not looking at what he wrote. Now they're looking within themselves,
Right.
and you just see the change of perspective that God did. And this is what He does in all our lives when we're in unsettling relationships. We take our eyes off of the person that's causing us. What do we put our eyes on? The written Jesus writing the words.
In the dirt.
Yeah.
Just in the dirt.
In the dirt of our hearts. Yeah.
Just writing.
And then He, from that, convicts us.
Can get our attention
Yes.
when we're not worried about everyone else.
That's it. It's just so he got my attention, and I realized he'll be without sin cast the first stone. That I was constantly casting stones at Dan with my mouth. You see what you did? Why did you do that? Look what you're doing to me. Don't you know that's wrong? And just calling to his attention his sins. But then when Jesus said, "Ye who be without sin, cast the first stone," it made me quiet. So when Dan's in front of me sinning, or if anybody that offends you or hurts you, and they're in front of you sinning, what right do we have to say anything until we're right? It reminds me of the other parable. Jesus said that before you can take the splinter out of your brother's eye,
Take the log out of your own.
and I think that we all have a log on our eye, and it's from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
Yeah.
We personally think we know what's right and wrong, and we judge everyone with this log in our eye. We're looking through that tree, and we're deciding who's right and who's wrong. We're just like those Pharisees that surrounded this woman.
Right.
And we can't see because we have this log, and everyone has one.
Yeah.
Because we're all raised different. I may look at your life and think, how could she do that? Or how could she say that?
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
that's not the way my family said it. That's not the way my family did it. I would never do something like that. You know? So we all eat from this wicked tree.
Yeah.
You know? And we cast judgments because of that tree.
And it's I almost think unconscious at times. I know in today's day and age, they're talking about bias and even racism and what is internally spoken to you, and it's how you are raised, and it's what you feel is right and wrong. But the point being, it's almost subconscious. Where children, you can see them interact, they just don't have it. And as soon as they start learning things, it's that tree. It's that tree. And if we can, not erase it, but take that log out of your eyes, that everybody has right and wrong, and everybody's different, and that's okay.
Well, when we quit eating from the fruit of that tree and starting eating from the tree of life,
Of love.
yeah,
Just
that's the tree
love
of life
is
Christ.
love.
Yeah,
You're loving people, and you're accepting them, and you're learning what they feel is good and evil, and helping them not to stumble along the way. But you put that log right in your way of what you think is good and evil, and it's detrimental.
Well, that's part of the whole thing is realizing that you even have a log to begin with.
Yeah.
You know, and
your judges said it was the most evil time in all history when everyone thought you were right in their own eyes.
Oh, I was going to bring that
That's
up
right.
earlier. I just finished Judges, another read through, and it says it over and over again. When they had judges,
so when the Lord tells us in His Word to, you know, take that log out of your own eye before you reach for the speck in someone else's, it doesn't mean that you just walk away. It means that you pray and you ask God and you go to Him before you go to the other person, whether it's a time to come alongside them to exhort them or to call something to their attention because you care about them and you love them. So there is a time to do that, but it has to be covered in prayer. It's not a reaction, it's a response.
and that's huge.
Yeah. And what I had to do is quit throwing stones.
Yes.
I had to learn to be quiet. So no matter what's coming at me,
Yeah.
and there was no response. And then, I can't remember, I was trying to look for that scripture verse where, it was in the Psalms, where the psalmist said, when I'm before the wicked, I say neither good or evil.
Oh, I remember that. I think I just used that today
Yeah.
in my own personal
Yes.
life. I have no response, good or evil.
That's right. But then,
No
then he
response.
said, but I'm like a wineskin.
Yes.
Because he had all these words inside of him and he's not going to say anything. So he's going to burst.
Yes.
But then he says, I'm like a wineskin ready to burst. And then the next line says, and he said to the Lord. So instead of expressing all these words to the person in front of him, he talked about it.
Right.
And that's something I had to learn to do. because this is my daily life.
Which Deb was saying, it's with prayer. It's
Yeah.
with prayer. We're not going to react to every little thing.
That's like I was telling you earlier, I had a good friend who was having a terrible time in her marriage, and her husband would come at her and be in her face, and she would pray to the Lord for a godly response. And often that was to say nothing.
And isn't that funny? It's you can't say anything good either.
Yeah,
No.
We know
nothing.
the casting stones, and that's negativity, and you're not gonna. But that one is like, oh yeah, I probably shouldn't do that. But when it's not a good response either, it's no response. That's sometimes the answer.
Yeah, read for us this Psalm 39.
Psalm 39, the vanity of life. I said, I will guard my ways, that I may not sin with my tongue. I will guard my mouth as with a muzzle. While the wicked are in my presence, I was dumb and silent. I refrained even from good, and my sorrow grew worse. My heart was hot within me. While I was musing, the fire burned. Then I spoke with my tongue, Lord, make me to know my end.
Yeah, so that was the scripture I was thinking of. That's Psalm 39.
So perfect.
So you had to learn to be quiet.
And we've talked about quiet confidence.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And if you learn to be quiet, God does give you good things to say, just words of hope and consolation to someone. But you were saying earlier, Angela, it's just natural. We just naturally, because it's part of our nature. That's why I made this little, I should have brought it with me, a little note
sign.
I pulled out of my kid's notebook, and it said, are you so sinless that you can cast stones? And I hung it on the wall behind my husband's chair. Now it seems like he never noticed it. But every time I looked at my husband, the sign was right there. I had this little reminder that said, you can't throw stones at him anymore.
That's right.
And it kept me quiet until God started to teach me how to say right things. So,
I think one of the biggest things too is how we talked about how we had to quit nagging.
I did.
And and it's like our words mean something, and they won't hear us if we're just constantly going at them.
well, that's what Dan used to do to me. He used to go like this. Let me say, no, 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 no. And I'm saying, what are you doing?
Yeah, get out of my face.
Yeah.
What is
and
this?
he says, that's all I hear.
Yeah, there's no words. They see our behavior so much more than any of the words. So that's what nagging
Kill me.
feels like. And it
But-
reminds me of the Proverbs. Am I getting closer? 16:1 or
14:1.
14:1. That the contentious woman.
No.
Oh no, it's not 14:1.
No.
Okay, well, regardless of the verse.
I'll get it. But tears her house down. And that
Wise
always
woman tears
reminds
her house down.
Yeah, it reminds me of
tears
that.
her house.
And the wise woman builds up, contentious woman pulls it down. It reminds me of that nagging.
Yeah.
Where nagging and nagging on your husband is just, I mean, I visually see it as you're ripping your walls down. Like you're not making it a sanctuary for the house. You're not making it a nest after your husband's provided and having that comfortable nest and sanctuary.
And unfortunately,
Nagging is it just feels like, yeah, you're just tearing the walls down.
well, and unfortunately,
mind
what
goes.
happens often is the man, when the word talks about, goes to the highest corner of the house, and and eventually, perhaps he may even walk out.
Well, it says he goes into a desert place.
Yeah.
And I guess I see it as nagging. I think women maybe feel, of course, natural. We all have opinions and want to say, hey, what about this? What about that? But to continue to do it and not be convicted internally, I worry so much for others that they don't see that as literally tearing a house down to that degree. That's how important.
And if you look at
nagging can be.
the premise of the study, is that when you're right, then you'll have right words. But we're not right. So we got to get right first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay?
And it's God that changes us. It's our relationship with Christ that's the most important thing.
Amen.
Bottom line.
That's what he's waiting for.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate your time, and we hope that this has been edifying to you. Have a blessed week, and we will see you next Thursday night on Facebook or YouTube. Just look us up under Dear Lady Elect. Have a grace week.
Nice to see you.